First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Akim that's also going out here in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth, risking your lives to do so, risking humiliation, risking being harassed by the cops, by others, and just, not caring about what others think, but only caring about reaching the hopeful elect, we've been seeing a lot of things happen in just the first 4 months of this year of prophecy as declared by Apostle Tahar. And boy, have things been escalating, the war against Syria, it's all coming out that the whole Duma chemical attack was staged, just like all the other lies of that bitch America, the whore, Babylon the Great, and its allies, have been exposed, that the only things that they had destroyed is the evidence that Assad had actually carried out these attacks. They had destroyed a science research building and pretty much a place for pharmaceutical medical items, as well as areas in homes. But here's the thing about the success of the missile defense systems, though. It only did very minimal structural damage. In other words, the missiles that did not get shot down were the ones that were offshore, didn't even really hit the base at all, but just hit the ground. So, of course, the missile defense systems are not going to be worried about taking them out. They are looking to take out the ones that over the city. So you could say, though, that their missile defense system, which was not the S-300, 400, or 500s, but was just the S-200s, that it repelled the terrorist attack, because that's what I call it, a terrorist attack. Donald Trump is one of the greatest terrorists. The UK are the greatest terrorists. France, greatest terrorists. So, WWE had that event yesterday called the Greatest Royal Rumble. And, of course, like everything else, though, on a side note, I do watch wrestling. But I had noticed, though, that what they're big time promoting is Agenda 2030. In fact, that was mentioned. They didn't quite say the word agenda, but it was caught, because the number 2030 was in there. So I'm like, okay, that's the big push. Agenda 2030. And then they were talking about how great that they're going to have the movie theater after all these years. And I've been talking about this for some time, so they were talking about it too. And well, that, of course, is because of the fact that the U.S. military is going to be in Saudi Arabia, just like it was when it invaded Iraq. Same way it's going to be when they invade Syria, through Iraq, through Jordan, and are going to push those groups towards Assad, because that's what it's really about, is removing Assad. Removing Assad has always been the top priority, and the whole world knows that they don't care about anything else but removing Assad, because he's not going to allow the United States, the U.S. petrodollar, to run through Syria. That he has his deals with Iran, who has been an ally of his, and with Russia. And that deal was brokered a long time ago. So what's happened, though, is this petrol won, because Iran has already been trading. There's been sanctions against Iran the entire time. So they've been trading without the U.S. dollar, So what's happening, though, is the petrol won, which is through China, runs to the BRICS nations, because BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. All these BRICS nations know how to trade without the United States petrodollar. And so this is starting to come up a bit, and as that begins to rise, eventually the petrodollar begins to fall. And other things that are coming out, the rest of the world knows this, but people over here don't know this, though, is that America is bankrupt. The news is not going to tell you this. They're not going to tell you this, that the United States is bankrupt, that Donald Trump, is not going to fix America. Okay, he's not telling the people that they're in bankruptcy. And even though you see it all the time, you hear it all the time, all of these companies filed for bankruptcy, and even the bigger bankruptcies to where they shut down businesses, such as Toys R Us, Sears, and Kmart. Kmart had already closed the stores here in Reading, and are closing stores all around the nation. So is Macy's as well. And, well, you know, I could talk about others that did the same thing through these years. Radio Shack was another. And so, yeah, I get a lot of comments on some of the videos where I forwarded that information other brothers had. And what's interesting, though, is they think, oh, well, that's nothing. Businesses close all the time. It is something when you're talking about ones that have been around for years. You know, it just, and because what is the image of America? That America is great, that it has the greatest economy, greatest industries and all that. Well, Sears, Kmart, and Toys R Us and all of them are part of its industries, its structure. So how has this place fallen from heaven, fallen from its grace, fallen from its power structure, slowly but surely? And, you know, they can take it or leave it, you know. The fact is I'm not even doing this for the so-called scoffers or, you know, these other nations. I don't give a fuck about the other nations. They're the dung of the earth, you know. The fact is, though, is that we're rising up. We're coming back to our nationality, you know. We're going out there and teaching, you know, to a world that, you know, pretty much is ruled by wickedness, you know. Israel's not in power. Not the real one. You know, you got them fake-ass Jews claiming to be pretty much, you know, you got Amalek ruling, you know, and they're the worst of Esau, Edom, you know, because here it is, though, you know, you'll see it all the time, whether it be wrestling and all that, that, you know, these fat fucks, you know, just run everything, you know. They are so fucking rich, and they will not share it amongst their own. No, they don't share or distribute wealth. They only stay the greedy 1%. You know, and everybody else is just a 99%er, a peasant, if you will, you know. And so, here it is, the economy's collapsing, been collapsing, but the news ain't going to tell you that. Donald Trump ain't going to tell you that, but, you know, we here, we'll tell you what's going on, you know. We look at the financial reports. We look at the global economic collapse. X22 report does excellent reviews about the global economic collapse, you know. Which globally, the U.S. dollar is devaluing, you know, to the point that all it is IOUs. I mean, you're, you know, and the bills that used to be in your wallet, you know, they are, in fact, reserve currency. In other words, at one time they were called silver certificates, but, you know, they had pretty much removed that, but it was called the silver certificate. You hand that in, you get your silver dollars. So it was never, ever supposed to be the way of exchanging money. You were just holding on to that bill, and then you go to the bank and you get your silver dollars. That's what they were called, silver certificates. You know, you were owed that. And that's all that the money system has ever been, but they are looking to end that and go digital, which is the RFID. But other things that are going on, food distribution centers and all that, what's going to happen and what's happening, and eventually it'll get to the point to where it won't just be small anymore. It has gotten a lot smaller. And it'll get to the point, though, that people have been waiting there for quite a while, and then they're going to find out that, well, their road didn't get called and all that, and they have to be turned away because all the food is gone. That's going to happen. That's going to start the riots, you know. And it's just right around the corner. The big one is these tariffs put on China. And, of course, you know, the retaliatory things that have been happening. These tariffs are going, because China has responded. And has put tariffs against that bitch America, the whore, Babylon the Great. So, these fucking white people, these Edomites, are going to feel that. You know, because what's going to happen is the price is going to be too high. These food banks are already starting to run out of shit, you know, to where, you know, you're only getting like 2 cans and maybe 2 breads. And you'll be lucky if you could even fill your bag. You couldn't, you know, at these food banks, you know. So, of course, the poor, the low income, the 99%ers are going to feel that the most. While others are just going to not even notice this, you know, because, well, they're not watchmen. They're not watching these things, so it's going to catch them unaware. You tell someone that they have to do without, they're going to flip the fuck out. That's going to cause riots. You already got the racial riots going on, you know, but that's going to increase, you know. more incidents are going to come up. You got people saying that, God chose white people, Caucasians, which Caucasian means cave dwellers, but yet the biblical scriptures say that they should dwell in the cliff rocks. So that's not talking about the Israelites. It's not talking about his chosen people. That's talking about Esau, Edom, shall dwell in the cliff rocks. And what they will not admit to is that their whole society is about to fall. And that's a good thing. Because when we see the fall of that society, when we see that America is no longer the leading bully that it used to be, that all these countries could stand up against America, Babylon the Great, then we know that it's just about time. It's on its last leg, and things are happening fast. This being the year of prophecy, we're going to see a whole lot more. So I hope this has been edifying, as we're reviewing things, and as I get more, financial reports, things like that, and we're paying attention to these things. We're just going to lift each other up the best that we can. So to that, until next time, Shalom and Brakatah.